In this demo, I will activate Mutual TLS on our Kubernetes cluster. These are all the pods that I'm going to run. Namespace 1 and namespace 2 will be Istio enabled, and the legacy namespace will not be Istio enabled. So let's get started. I'm in my Istio directory, and the first hello world that I have created is the hello world TLS.yaml. And this is going to be the Istio enabled deployments. So I'm going to create two namespaces, namespace ns1 and namespace ns2. I will have deployments. I will have a hello deployment that shows you the text hello, and it will then go to world namespace 2 to get the world. All the other deployments are very similar. You can have a look at it yourself, but they match exactly the diagram I just showed you. We also have the services for the hello and world, and for the world and the end reverse. So if I go back to the diagram, when I talk about the first row, it's the hello world. When I talk about the second row, I'll be talking about the reverse. So we have a hello reverse, world reverse, and end reverse for the 3 exclamation marks. So these are the services for the world reverse and the end reverse. And here we have then the services for the hello and then the world. So those are 4 services for the 4 deployments in namespace 1 and 2. And then I have the other 2 in a separate file. We're going to create a gateway. So we need the hello world gateway. This is the same as the previous one. Then we have 2 destination rules, one for hello ns1 service cluster local, and one for hello reverse legacy service cluster local. So this is the hello reverse for the legacy cluster. I currently have Mutual TLS disabled. I will enable this later. We're basically going to define a v1 TLS subset that we then going to use in the virtual service. So we're going to have again 2 virtual services, one for the hello TLS and one for the hello TLS reverse. And these will go to the correct destinations. So this one will go to the hello host and this to the hello reverse. So this one is in the ns1 and this one is in the legacy one. So the hello in this case is Istio enabled and the hello reverse is not Istio enabled, but will contact Istio enabled hosts in the other 2 namespaces. Then we're going to have hello world TLS legacy, and here I define the legacy deployments. So this is the end TLS and the hello reverse TLS. Those are the 2 deployments in the legacy namespace here on the right. And both of them again have a service. So let me apply those. You can find these commands in the readme, kubectl apply, and then we're going to use istioctl to do a kube inject of the hello world TLS.yaml. We'll do the same for hello world TLS legacy, but we're not going to use istioctl because this is a legacy application. It is not using Istio. I also removed all the other pods, so I don't have any other demos running anymore, just for simplicity. Otherwise, they might conflict with each other. So you might want to use kubectl delete to remove any older demos. Once this is created, we should be able to contact our service. Let's use kubectl get svc override namespace istio system. This will give us the load balancer. And I'm going to use curl to access our load balancer, and the host name I'm going to use is hello TLS example. So this gives hello world 3 exclamation marks. So the hello comes from namespace 1, the world from namespace 2, and the 3 exclamation marks from the legacy namespace. So these 2 services are Istio enabled and this one not. Then we also have the hello TLS reverse example, and this is the reverse example. Hello comes from the legacy, world from namespace 2, and the 3 exclamation marks from namespace 1. Let's now enable Mutual TLS. Hello world TLS enable. I'm going to enable authentication kind mesh policy. I'm going to enable MTLS. When I enable MTLS, I also need to create a destination rule with the name enable MTLS. Namespace default, even though we specify a namespace, this rule applies to all namespaces. This destination rule is going to apply to all namespaces. If the host is star.local, then it's going to activate mutual TLS. So this is a policy. It enforces that communication is using mutual TLS. So if something is not using mutual TLS, then it will not work. This destination rule ensures that the mutual TLS configuration is pushed to the sidecars. So you need both. The Kube API server is not using Istio, is not using mutual TLS. So here we say that we disable TLS. We're also going to create a destination rule for our legacy app. So we're going to say if the host is end legacy SVC cluster local, which is our 3 exclamation marks, then we're also going to disable TLS. So from within an Istio cluster, we can still access non-mutual TLS services, but it will not be possible the other way around. And I will show you that in a minute. So let's kubectl apply this hello world TLS enable.yaml. So now we enable the policy. We also set that if we are contacting star.local, then it should have mutual TLS enabled. What I didn't do yet is I didn't enable mutual TLS right here in our destination rules that are responsible to respond to the ingress controller. So this is our ingress configuration. So if we don't specify traffic policy Istio mutual here, then the communication between the services will still work, but not if we come from the ingress. So to show you that, I will first go to our ingress controller. So this is the curl, and we get an upstream connect error. So we were not able to reach our hello service. And if I use hello TLS reverse, then we were able to reach our first one, but not the next one. So couldn't connect to world reverse NS2 because we haven't enabled TLS yet on those destination rules. So let's try that now. So I'm going to edit this file, hello world TLS.yaml. I'm going to uncomment this. And what's going to happen now is that this will work because this is Istio enabled, but unfortunately this destination rule, if we're going to enable Istio mutual on a legacy namespace that has pods that are not deployed with sidecars, this will not work. Because obviously those don't support mutual TLS because they're not deployed with Istio. So that's one of the downsides. If you enable mutual TLS and you still have legacy deployments, that will not work anymore unless you disable TLS, of course. So let's do an apply again. And this will then have this new destination rule. And then we should be able to use curl on our hello TLS again. And now we have hello world again. But now if we do hello TLS reverse, then we cannot connect to it, because if we enable mutual TLS on all our endpoints, then the legacy namespace will not work. Although that the other way works, because we have hello world, then this comes from a pod that comes from a legacy pod. So if we enable TLS everywhere and we include an exception on one service that is running in the legacy, that will work. So let's remove this mutual TLS so we can contact this again. So we have hello TLS, this works, we didn't change anything, and reverse. We can now contact our hello on our legacy namespace, but yeah, once we are in our legacy namespace, we can still not contact anything that is in a namespace where we have Mutual TLS enabled. So this is the first pod, the hello pod in our legacy namespace, replying that it couldn't connect to world reverse NS2 on 8080. So whereas you can say that we don't want TLS for this one service, if it still communicates with Mutual TLS enabled services, it will not work. Whereas communication outside still works with our hello TLS example.com. So this is how you enable Mutual TLS. We now have Mutual TLS enabled on our namespace 1 and namespace 2 pods, not in our legacy pods. We can still communicate from namespace 1 to namespace 2 and from namespace 2 to legacy, but we cannot communicate from legacy into our namespace 1 and 2. And this makes sense because we cannot identify this hello app because it's not using Istio. This doesn't have a certificate, so we cannot trust it, and we're not letting it into our secured service mesh. So this is a lot of information, so I suggest that you try this out yourself to see how this exactly works.